Nino Shrembry, is that back in the Pride days, he would just throw head kicks because he knew that if you caught the leg, that you would probably fall down on top of him, and he was okay with that because he would pull you into guard and start to attack. She is leaps abound. Mackenzie Dern is leaps and bounds above everybody else on the ground. She is phenomenal. There's no doubt about that. But she lacks the wrestling. And I was listening to Paul Felder, who does a phenomenal job behind the mic, by the way. And I've said this, I think someone was criticizing him a couple weeks ago. I think it was Marvin Vittori. And I just jumped in. I was like, hey, man, Paul, you fucking do a phenomenal job. You're absolutely amazing behind the mic. I don't know if there's anybody, I mean, obviously I'm going to lean towards DC, but outside of DC, I don't know if there's anybody behind that mic that does a better job than him. I mean, John Anik does a separate job. People don't understand what John Anik does is special, and I feel that way about all of the play-by-play fighter, play-by-play callers. They are just, it's impressive what they can do. They got to do the commercials. They weave through the traffic. They've got the background search. They do everything. They're phenomenal, all of them. I mean, you got Morrow, you've got Anik, Sean Grandy. There's a lot of top-level ones that are out there doing it, and they're doing a great job. But Paul Felder behind the mic is absolutely amazing. And when I sit and watch a fight and I can hear Paul Felder's voice, it kind of soothes me and calms me down and lets me know, like, I'm getting the right knowledge. And so when I'm listening to him say, like, she needs to do whatever she can to get in, not just in terms of whatever she can to get in, but to take her coach's advice. Punch your way in, try the one jab, and then do a double punch to come back in. On the second time, get to the clinch. Those type of things, I love hearing from a good commentator, and he did a phenomenal job tonight, and it was great to watch, especially that whole main card. He was on point with a lot of things. And so great job, Paul. But with Mackenzie Dern, when you're that good, you need to start just throwing caution to the wind at times, not just on your striking, because she was putting her head down, Dave, and she was like just throwing the punch. And majority of the time, who Rodriguez is taller than her, she was swinging over the top of her, and Rodriguez was just dipping her head and able to come out on the backside. And I was thinking to myself, she's a lot taller, not just a little bit taller. She's a lot taller than Mackenzie, and Mackenzie was just winging it, putting her head down. There was a moment in the fight, I want to say it was in the 4th round, where she threw the overhand right and missed, and she got spun around, and Rodriguez was behind her. And I was thinking Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey all over again. And then in that moment, you could see Rodriguez touch her with her hands. Both hands were on Mackenzie Dern. And all she had to do was let the head kick go, I believe, on the left side. And if she turned right into that. It was almost like, I'm going to pick on myself here a little bit too. It was almost the Yves Edwards, Josh Thompson knockout all over again. It was that. If that's pretty much exactly kind of what happened with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm. It was like one of those moments. You're thinking to yourself, oh shit, don't do that. So that's what was going through my mind. Overall, though, Mackenzie Dern showed that she needs to work on her wrestling. She needs to work on closing that distance and possibly taking a page out of other fighters' books, like the Ryan Hall, the Nino Shrembry, where you're throwing heavy head kicks, but you're standing your ground. Those guys would stand right in the middle of the ring or the cage. Ryan moves a little bit. Ryan Hall moves around a little bit more, and then like throws the side kicks and the head kicks. But she needs to probably take a page out of that book and make people come to them. So when they step in, it's easier for them to get into easier for her to get into the body lock, easier for her to get into that clinch, that over under, or possibly even just snatch the leg. She also needs, I think, to work a little bit on catching kicks, because there was moments there where she was getting kicked to the body and she could have caught the kicks and got the takedown that way. I think she had a moment in the beginning of the 5th round. She caught the kick and kind of stepped behind the knee and then try to cross body her with the forearm, and she wasn't able to get her fully down because she was so tired. I don't think people understand how difficult and how exhausting it is after that 2nd round that Mackenzie Dern had of just being on top. She was also fighting off a submission by Rodriguez, which was very impressive. Not that it was close, but it was enough to frustrate Mackenzie because she knew she only had a certain amount of time to do work on the top. So in those scenarios, in those situations, Mackenzie Dern had the top position, but she didn't do as much as she could have in forcing the attack and forcing the submission attack and the finish. I think had she spent more time trying to really slowly and methodically get to that submission, which I shouldn't be saying too much because she's so damn good on the ground. But I felt like there was moments where she could have went for the armbar, where Rodriguez's arms were extended, and she didn't do it. She decided to go back to neutral position, like basically the mount position, or stay on the back, or she decided to start hammer fisting from the top, which she has heavy strikes, is what Rodriguez said at the end in the interview. Overall, she did a great job in terms of she took a lot of abuse. She's tougher than nails. That's one thing. Two is the fight there was moments in there where she could have had more success had she listened to Perillo a little bit more. And then in the third way is that when she did get to that top position, she should have spent a little bit more time methodically and slowly making Rodriguez work to get out of those positions, instead of she got a little careless in terms of she spent a lot of time fighting to keep the top position or fighting to keep the back, instead of just controlling and keeping the back and then trying to set up the submission as best she can. I look at a lot of people like a BJ Penn. He gets on your back and he doesn't just start attacking real fast. What he does is he slowly starts trying to trap your arm between his legs, when he's on your back, and then he starts trying to get under the chin. He starts changing hands. There's different ways of doing it. Obviously, she knows all the ways of doing it. But she still has that young fighter in her, where she makes a lot of mistakes still, especially on the feet, but she's gotten a lot better. Big John and I were talking about this last week. She's gotten a lot better on the feet than when she first started in the UFC, but she's learning on the fly. That's the one thing I got to tip my hat to her. She's really learning on the fly when it comes to, she got into the UFC and she relatively didn't know anything. I don't think she knew anything on the feet. She just came in, relied on her jiu-jitsu, and that's what's got her to where she is now. So overall, I think a tough, gritty performance by her. She's got a long ways to go, but it was I think it was good for her to go a hard 5 rounds, and she had to suck it up. She got through it. But look, let's not take away from Rodriguez and what she did. Let me explain to you what she did. She did a lot of great things.
Nice to meet you. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Nice to meet you. 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 Welcome. 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 Nice to meet you. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Come back anytime. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. 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 Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Hugo's can always help. Nice to meet you. Hugo's can always help.
Vin Pavis.